Chapter 1. The Championship Tournament. Jace and Brielle spent the days leading up to the tournament practicing in their backyard. They tried out different Beyblades and experimented with different launch techniques. Jace had a special affinity for attack-type Beyblades, while Brielle preferred defense-type Beyblades. They even practiced their teamwork, strategizing how to work together to defeat their opponents. On the day of the championship, they woke up early, eager to get to the tournament. They ate a quick breakfast, got dressed in their favorite Beyblade-themed t-shirts, and packed their bag with snacks and water. As they arrived at the tournament venue, they were awestruck by the size of the crowd and the excitement in the air. They could see people of all ages, from little kids like them to teenagers and adults. The energy was contagious, and they felt even more motivated to do their best. They registered and received their tournament badges, which they proudly wore on their shirts. They then made their way to the practice arena, where they saw other Beybladers testing out their skills. They felt a little intimidated, but they reminded each other that they had been practicing hard for this moment, and that they could do it. As they watched other matches taking place, they got a sense of the competition they were up against. They saw some Beybladers who were using advanced techniques and others who had customized their Beyblades with special parts. Jace and Brielle knew that they had to stay focused and give it their all. Finally, the moment they had been waiting for arrived. They were called up for their first match, and they walked onto the arena with their heads held high. They took their positions, said a quick prayer, and launched their Beyblades into the arena. The crowd cheered as the two Beyblades clashed, creating a whirlwind of motion and sound. In the end, Jace and Brielle emerged victorious, and they hugged each other tightly, feeling a sense of relief and joy. They high-fived their opponent and thanked them for a great match. They knew that they had a long way to go, but they were determined to give it their all and see how far they could make it in the tournament. Chapter 2. The competition begins. Jace and Brielle's first match had gone well, and they were feeling confident as they waited for their next opponent. They watched as other matches took place, analyzing the strategies and techniques of their opponents. As their next match was announced, they made their way to the arena. They were introduced to their opponents, who seemed to be a tough team. Jace and Brielle knew that they had to bring their A game if they wanted to win this match. The referee gave them the signal to launch their Beyblades, and the match began. Jace and Brielle's Beyblades spun around the arena, attacking their opponents' Beyblades with precision. The crowd was on the edge of their seats, cheering and shouting encouragement. As the match progressed, Jace and Brielle began to realize that their opponents were using some advanced techniques that they had never seen before. They were having a hard time keeping up and felt the pressure mounting, but they refused to give up. They kept their focus and worked together, using their own unique strengths and strategies to try and gain the upper hand. In the end, they managed to narrowly win the match. Jace and Brielle were elated as they hugged each other, feeling proud of themselves for overcoming a tough challenge. They shook hands with their opponents, who congratulated them on their win. They knew that they had to keep practicing and refining their skills if they wanted to keep advancing in the tournament. As they made their way out of the arena, they were greeted by their parents, who had come to cheer them on. Their parents congratulated them on their win and took them out for a celebratory lunch. Jace and Brielle couldn't stop talking about their match and the excitement of the tournament. As the day went on, they watched other matches and made new friends with other Beybladers. They learned new techniques and strategies from their new friends and rivals, and felt even more motivated to improve their skills. As the day came to a close, Jace and Brielle felt both exhausted and exhilarated. They knew that they had a tough road ahead, but they were determined to give it their all and see how far they could make it in the tournament. Chapter 3. A Tough Battle. Jace and Brielle were feeling the pressure as they headed into their second round match. Their opponents were fierce and skilled, and they knew that they were in for a tough battle. The match began, and Jace and Brielle launched their Beyblades into the arena. They immediately noticed that their opponents' Beyblades were moving faster and hitting harder than their own. They knew that they had to come up with a new strategy if they wanted to stand a chance. Jace and Brielle communicated quickly and came up with a plan. They decided to try a different launching technique that they had been practicing but had yet to use in a match. It was risky, but they felt that it might give them an edge. They launched their Beyblades once again, using their new technique. The Beyblades spun around the arena, colliding with their opponents' Beyblades in a dazzling display of sparks and energy. It was a close match, and the crowd was on the edge of their seats. As the match drew to a close, it was still anyone's game. Jace and Brielle's Beyblades were struggling to keep up with their opponents, and it seemed like they might lose. But at the last moment, their opponents made a critical mistake, leaving their Beyblades vulnerable. Jace and Brielle saw their opportunity and took it. They launched a coordinated attack on their opponents' Beyblades, sending them flying out of the arena. The crowd erupted in cheers as Jace and Brielle were declared the winners. Jace and Brielle hugged each other tightly, feeling relieved and thrilled. They had faced a tough opponent and come out on top. They knew that they had been lucky to win, but they also knew that their hard work and determination had played a big role in their victory. As they made their way out of the arena, they were met with congratulations from their new friends and rivals. They knew that they still had a lot of work to do if they wanted to keep advancing in the tournament, but they were feeling more confident than ever. That night, as they prepared for the next day's matches, Jace and Brielle talked excitedly about the day's events. They reviewed their strategies and techniques and practiced launching their Beyblades over and over again, determined to be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. They went to bed that night feeling both tired and exhilarated, knowing that the next day would bring even more excitement and challenges. Chapter 4. New Friends and Foes. As Jace and Brielle continued to compete in the Beyblade tournament, they met a variety of new friends and foes. They were impressed by the skills of some of their opponents and quickly made friends with others who shared their passion for Beyblading. One of their new rivals, a boy named Ryan, had an impressive collection of Beyblades that he had customized himself. Ryan was confident and skilled, and he quickly made it clear that he was there to win. Jace and Brielle knew that they would have to be at the top of their game to compete with someone like Ryan. Another competitor they met was a girl named Zoe, who had a Beyblade that was shaped like a bird. Zoe was quiet and reserved, but she was incredibly skilled at controlling her Beyblade. Jace and Brielle were impressed by her focus and precision, and they knew that she would be a tough opponent if they ever faced her in a match. Despite the competition, Jace and Brielle found that they were making many new friends as well. They talked to other Beybladers about their favorite strategies and techniques, and they learned a lot from the different styles of play they encountered. As they continued to compete, Jace and Brielle also started to notice that some of their opponents were using similar strategies and techniques in their matches. They realized that they could use this knowledge to their advantage by anticipating their opponents' moves and adjusting their own strategies accordingly. They continued to practice and refine their skills, both on their own and with their new friends. They were determined to do their best in every match and make it to the top of the tournament. As the tournament went on, Jace and Brielle found that they were becoming more and more confident in their abilities. They had faced some tough opponents, but they had managed to hold their own and even come out on top in some cases. They knew that there were still some tough battles ahead, but they were excited to see what the next rounds of the tournament would bring. They felt ready to face any challenge that came their way and were determined to keep pushing themselves to be the best Beybladers they could be. Chapter 5. The Semi-Finals. Jace and Brielle were getting closer and closer to the top of the Beyblade tournament. After a series of tough battles, they had made it to the semi-finals, but the competition was only getting tougher. In the semi-finals, Jace and Brielle were up against a team of experienced Beybladers who were known for their speed and agility. The match was intense from the very beginning, with both teams giving it their all. Jace and Brielle had a plan for how they wanted to play the match, but they quickly realized that their opponents were using some of the same techniques that they had been practicing. They had to adjust their strategy on the fly and come up with new moves to counter their opponents' attacks. Despite the challenges, Jace and Brielle were able to hold their own and put up a strong fight. They used their knowledge of their opponent's strengths and weaknesses to their advantage, and they managed to keep the match close throughout. As the match wore on, the tension in the room was palpable. The crowd was on the edge of their seats, cheering and shouting as the two teams battled it out. In the end, Jace and Brielle managed to pull out a narrow victory, much to the delight of their supporters. After the match, Jace and Brielle were relieved and excited to have made it to the finals. They knew that they had faced some tough competition, but they were confident that they could hold their own against whoever they faced next. As they left the arena, they were greeted by their new friends, who were eager to congratulate them on their victory. They exchanged high fives and smiles, all feeling the thrill of the competition and the camaraderie that comes with it. Jace and Brielle were thrilled to have made it to the final round of the tournament, but they knew that they would have to step up their game if they wanted to come out on top. They spent the rest of the day practicing and strategizing, determined to give it their all in the championship match. Chapter 6. The Final Battle. The day of the championship match had finally arrived. Jace and Brielle were up early, feeling both excited and nervous about the battle to come. They knew that this would be the toughest challenge yet, but they were determined to give it their all and come out on top. As they arrived at the arena, they were greeted by a massive crowd of fans, all eager to see who would be crowned the champion of the Beyblade tournament. The energy in the room was electric, and Jace and Brielle could feel the excitement building as they made their way to their battle station. Their opponents were a formidable duo, known for their lightning-fast Beyblade attacks and their strategic play. Jace and Brielle knew that they would have to be on their game if they wanted to stand a chance against them. The match began, and it was immediately clear that this would be a fierce battle. Both teams were playing at the top of their game, with each move met by an equally impressive counter-attack. The sound of the Beyblades clashing filled the arena, and the crowd roared with each thrilling moment. As the match wore on, it became clear that this would be a close one. Jace and Brielle were holding their own, but their opponents were just as determined to come out on top. The two teams were neck and neck, with neither gaining a clear advantage. But then, in a moment of inspired play, Jace and Brielle made a bold move that caught their opponents off guard. They used a technique that they had been practicing for weeks, one that involved spinning their Beyblades in opposite directions. Their opponents were momentarily stunned, and Jace and Brielle seized the opportunity, launching a series of powerful attacks that sent their opponents' Beyblades flying off the platform. The crowd erupted in cheers as Jace and Brielle were declared the winners of the championship match. They had done it. They had become the champions of the Beyblade tournament. Jace and Brielle could hardly believe it. They had worked so hard to get here, practicing day and night, and now it had all paid off. They hugged each other tightly, tears of joy streaming down their faces. As they celebrated their victory with their friends and fans, Jace and Brielle knew that this was a moment they would never forget. They had learned the value of hard work, determination, and never giving up, and they had come out on top. It was a victory that would stay with them forever. Chapter 7. Victory. The stadium erupted into cheers as Jace and Brielle were declared the champions of the Beyblade tournament. They hugged each other tightly, still in disbelief that they had actually won. As they made their way down from the battle platform, they were greeted by their friends and family, who rushed over to congratulate them. Jace and Brielle felt like celebrities, with everyone wanting to take photos with them and get their autographs. After the excitement had died down a little, Jace and Brielle were approached by some of their competitors. The team that they had defeated in the semi-finals came over to shake their hands and congratulate them on their victory. "We never expected to lose to a team as young as you guys," said their former opponent, a boy named Ryan. "You really impressed us with your skills out there." Jace and Brielle thanked him graciously, feeling proud and humbled at the same time. They knew that they had worked hard to get where they were, and that it wasn't just luck that had brought them to the top. As the celebrations continued, Jace and Brielle couldn't help but feel a little sad that the tournament was over. They had made so many new friends and had experienced such an incredible adventure, and now it was all coming to an end. But they knew that this was just the beginning. There would be more tournaments to enter, more opponents to face, and more challenges to overcome. And they were ready for it all. As they left the arena, Jace and Brielle walked hand in hand, feeling happy and proud of themselves. They knew that they had achieved something truly special, and that they had proven to themselves and to the world that they were capable of anything they set their minds to.